Hello everybody, it is Thursday the 25th of July. Now I'm going to call this video that this world, this earth, is ruled over by false gods. And I think to an extent that is true, and it was definitely, I would say, true in the beginning. I also want to show you that I think they are evolving. They are evolving. Yeah. Right. So, as I said, the affairs of man at the moment, I think, are ruled over by a cabal. Yes, that is the mighty of this world, and the supposed gods are in cahoots, directing the affairs of man, and the darkness in this world, the destruction in this world is derived from their darkness. Yeah? They are the powerful ones that are directing the affairs. So what we see is a reflection of their darkness. For most of us, we are not in agreement with what is happening. Increasingly, I think humanity is waking up to the knowledge of good and bad according to itself. And we are judging the gods, so to speak, and the mighty. Our knowledge of good and bad is rising, and it's standing as the judge. That is, again, it is an awakening, and it is the first step. It was the first step in the Bible, when they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. And they became as gods in that they knew good and bad, according to themselves. So again, what's actually happening here at the moment is, again, the first step again in the garden, eating of the tree of knowledge of good and bad. We're kind of back at the beginning. And again, at the beginning of a new cycle, a new awakening that will lead to a new cycle. Let's see. Now, false gods. Let me just show you this here in the Bible. Now, the first page of this book is so important because it shows you so many different levels of consciousness and different kinds of consciousness. Yeah, there may be those that are on the same level, but hell, they're not the same. I want to show you this here. And if I say false god, is they are not on the level of consciousness that would constitute a god. Again, let me show you this. Only the way it's taught, that whole first page, it's all the same God. Then you do not see what's going on. It's not the same. This is not talking about the same beings or just one being. It doesn't. Now, let's go. So the first line, the very first line, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. That is speaking about the Creator himself. That is what we might call now the Big Bang. Yeah? That's the way we understand it at the moment, or think about it. And that is the Creator actually making himself manifest all over the place, like explosion outwards. So that is level of Creator himself, creating himself into a reality where he himself is contained in everything that was created at that moment. But then we come to the next step. Yeah? And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Here we are on the level of being. Yeah, there is a being there. And I tell you something, that is a spiritual being. A very high level of spiritual consciousness that has got a connection to the Creator. Because God says, let there be light. There is a prayer. That's a prayer. That is, and he is given. So that being is actually creating what is in this world now, nature, by the way of whatsoever you ask for in prayer, know that you have received it and it will be yours. This is creation through prayer, and that is a very high level of consciousness. So God has a week's worth of desires, and then whenever it's over, he looks at it and he knows that it is good. Yeah? Now, as I said, what he created. Now, here's the thing that I ask quite often myself. Yeah, he has all these desires for trees, fish, whatever. So they're separate desires. But what it actually created is a system, ecosystems, in which, natural ecosystems, in which every part gives and receives, and they become part of the one system that is then sustained by all that are in that system. And I'm wondering where did the system come from? Yeah, God had the desire for the parts, but where did the system come from? God looked at it and he knew it was good. Now, all the fish and trees, they could have been arranged in a completely different way. What arranged it? Again, is that the knowledge of the Creator that was actually maybe contained within the unformed matter? This is just a theory of mine. I really have no idea. But still, okay, leave it at that. It was a spiritual being. That was creation through prayer. And the outcome was good. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And then comes the next one. Again, here it's all the same thing. No, it's not. We're already talking about creator and a created being. And the next one, we're talking about a created being. Again, on a very high level of consciousness, because there is a prayer there. Yeah? So, and then we get to verse 26 on the first page. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the earth, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Again, there is a being of a high level of consciousness that has got a connection to the Creator. Let there be. That is, again, we're working on prayer. That's spiritual. Now, the desire itself, I don't know, I'm not calling that good because I'm living the outcome. Yeah, and no. In this world, at least, it's not good. It is against the system that was created by the first one, which is ecosystem. Here, we're starting to work on rulership, yeah, where man will have dominion over the earth. And then it comes, God creates man, male and female, yeah. Again, people are talking about the physical male and female body. No, your physical body is according to this world, the physical world. What they're talking about here now, again, is spiritual. And you can see it in the tree of life, the Kabbalistic tree of life. Where Keter, the crown, the I am, splits itself into male and female. That's spiritual, male and female. And that is actually, in a way, the beginning of reason. You have two parts that can talk to each other, that are part of the same being, but the being can have a conversation inside of itself. Yeah? And that is the beginning of reason. Again, that is a good thing. I would say, to me, that's a good thing. That is the beginning of self-consciousness. The intention, I would question the intention to have dominion over this world. But again, it shows you something, and that is that God was given Yeah, he had a prayer and he was given, and then you must really understand. If you think about the Creator as a being, you're going wrong altogether. He is all. And if you think about him as something that is pulling the strings, or that judges, or directs, all of creation, no, absolutely not. So if you say, I believe in Jesus and what he taught me, then please listen to what he said. He said, in the Father there is no judgment. He gives to all. He does not judge. Yeah? So if you think the Creator will save you, the Creator is uninvolved. Other than that we receive of him. He is completely he has no opinion. He has got no judgment. Judgment should be in us. In that which is created. That's the point of judgment. So again, you should see that in the text they were given. And as I said, as a human being, I would question that intention. Especially now that I'm living the outcome of that intention. Right. So again, you have two different beings on a very high level of consciousness with a connection to the Creator, but they are not the same. And the fruit of their desire is not the same. Now we come to the one that created us. Again, the church will tell you it's all the same thing, but here, now we're coming to the level of the false gods. Yeah? Because what it says about the creation of us is, now we're at Genesis 2 verse 7. We're still on the first page. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And then notice something that is extremely important. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground. There is no prayer there. He did not ask. There is no let there be. There isn't. And if you go to the Sumerian texts that describe this moment of actually he did not create, obviously did not, he created man from the dust, from the level of the animal, which that God would regard as dust, to the level of man. And if you look at the Sumerian text, you will see that that was purely genetic engineering. Yeah? That was not done on a spiritual level, that was purely material. And there is where I'm saying they were false gods, because they were not on the level of consciousness of a god. They were material. Actually, what they created then was, they were actually on the level of man themselves. But they portrayed themselves as gods through their superior knowledge, which was material, not spiritual. A god would have spiritual knowledge. But what they created, the human being that was now on the level of man, was a spiritual being. It had spiritual knowledge. We do have spiritual knowledge, we still do. And it was really, again, it shows you in the book where God creates all manners of animals. Yeah, and again, on the material level. Engineering. And then Adam would name them. Again, there's a naming of something, it is knowing the essence of something. Adam knew the essence of what was created in that spiritual knowledge. He knew, because he was a spiritual being connected to what was created, he knew it on that level. So, But then, as I said, the rest of the book is really outcomes. Yeah? What will this create? What kind of realities? These are the foundations, both spiritual and material. And what outcomes will it create? That is, most of the rest of the book is that. So again, as I said, false gods in the Old Testament, and I said you can see it more clearly in the Sumerian text. You can see it in like Ezekiel describing what was coming from heaven, which was actually a material machine. That was technology. There's a lot of technology in the Old Testament. Yeah? Again, material beings with a knowledge of technology. There's a lot of that in the Old Testament. And they made themselves extremely powerful, but not through spiritual knowledge, through superior weapons, through superior technology. Now, I said, I'm pretty certain they are evolving into a spiritual knowledge. And again, if you look at the beginning of the book of those two gods, the one that created, created nature, the one that creates man in his image. Having spiritual knowledge does not make you a good being. It doesn't. So they are already in darkness, on a low level of understanding good and bad, really. On a very low level of understanding that. And that is going to be added to. It was added to by, say, technology, which gave them power, and you can see the fruit of that. And then if you go to the spiritual, the only difference, if it's bad in the physical, it will be bad in the spiritual. The only thing is you will get to the outcome an awful lot faster. Yeah? And if it's a bad outcome, you're racing toward your own demise. So, I'm losing the thread here. Yeah. As I said, I think they are evolving, and we are the ones that gave them the knowledge. Because as I said, from the beginning, we were spiritual beings. Now, if you look at history, yeah, and what happened, especially really concentrated here in the West, in the conquest of the world, they used their armies, again, their superior weapons, and they were followed, or really the church was there the entire time. Yeah? Now what the church did, first of all, they were through the physical power, they were subdued, and then the church took their spiritual knowledge. Again, most native tribes that they came across had spiritual knowledge. And the church took that away from them. They took the knowledge, and the church has got the knowledge. So basically what they did is they burned the heretic, but they kept his writings. And that knowledge is stored away. Jesus said they are like dogs lying on the cattle's manger. Yeah, and he said they have the knowledge, but they don't eat of it. Yeah, they have the food, but they don't eat of it themselves. Well, I think that changed. I think they have started eating of it, of that knowledge. And I would say helped along by no small means by what Jesus did when he showed them what it can do in this world. He brought that knowledge to their eyes, to their awareness. Look what what spiritual knowledge can work in this reality. I mean, they didn't get the message at the time. They crucified him. But I think they've caught on since then what he actually showed them. So now if Paul says, we are not dealing against flesh, we're not in war against flesh and blood, but it is spiritual wickedness. I think at that time he should have maybe said, we are no longer at war with flesh and blood. This war is no longer physical, but we are taking this war to another level now, into the spiritual, because they have awakened. The gods and the mighty have awakened to spiritual knowledge, but it did not change them in their essence. They're still of the same intention. And again, they will use any knowledge to serve them. And that's what they're doing now. So we are now at a point where most of us are going deeper into not knowing ourselves, deeper into the darkness. We are actually falling from the knowledge of that we are spiritual beings, of the knowledge of how this actually works and what it is we can do. Our knowledge of good and bad has actually not changed. The deepest knowledge, yeah? When it's no longer reacting to oppression or what is happening outside of us, but deep down in our own stillness, we still have the same knowledge of good and bad that we always had. But that's, as I said, that is being suppressed. We are not acting on it because we have pressure from outside not to do that. So that is suppressed, and we are really have fallen from the knowledge of ourselves. Whereas we have given of that knowledge to the gods and the mighty, and they are now evolving to a spiritual level, which will make things an awful lot worse than what they are now. So, and we really need to start understanding. Now, one thing is that Jesus was obviously on a spiritual level, because again, there you can hear it again. Let there be. Let it be. You can hear the words again that were there in the beginning. So there is a return of spiritual knowledge. Right. So, but in order to understand this, as I said, the way it's taught, we have no discernment. Even for the first page, it's all the same thing. No, it's not. It is clearly not the same thing. You've got the level of the Creator, they have the level of a true God, a spiritual being that has got a connection to the Creator. That is a true God, and his intention is good. You can see the fruit in nature. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than the pyramid. You've got the next one, and then you see that you can be on the same level of consciousness, driven by completely different intentions, which would make you completely different beings. And then it's not, once you get into the spiritual, it's all light and it's all good. Again, there's no discernment. Good and bad exists here, it does exist there. If you live in this world, you do something bad on the physical level, you do the same thing on the spiritual level. It's as below, so above. If it's bad on the material level, you go wrong on speed on the spiritual level. Other things that we're being taught at the moment, like Satan is the god of this world. No. The god of this world is the intention that starts in verse 2. That is the god of this world. And then at the moment, again, we're being told, and I hear them, because everybody is saying, well, those gods have great technology, which made them false gods. But now they're saying the one that created this world They're telling us now, I hear it, that is terraforming. They had great technology and they were terraforming. And no, there is no mention of technology there in verse 2. That is not technology. That is spiritual. That is a prayer. Yeah, so no, it was not the ones with technology that created nature. That was done by a being on a much higher level. And they were not the same. And I mean, the height of delusion is when Christians are being told, oh, it is all the righteous will of God, and He is the light, and you must do as you're told, even if it goes against your own knowing. That's the height of the delusion. So, right. There you have, that is what I see here. That is only the first page of the book. Only the first page should actually already give you a foundational understanding of several things. And we do not have the foundation from which to go. We do have no foundation from which to understand, or we have the wrong foundation from which to understand. So I would say they were false gods, but they are evolving into spiritual beings. And that does not make them good. That is just knowledge on a higher level. If it does not change their being, which apparently it doesn't, God does not change. God is still the will to have dominion. And, yeah, He's going to a high level and He will be destructive on speed. And we are giving them the knowledge. That was the knowledge of us. We were spiritual beings from the beginning, from the story of Adam. We had that knowledge. And we have been giving it to them. They have learned from us whilst suppressing the knowledge in ourselves, taking it away from us, beating it out of us. I mean, really, physically beating it out of us. Until we cower in fear. Oh, don't go there. Yeah, you either get burned at the stake or you go to hell. We cower in fear of our own knowledge, whilst they are taking it and they are using it to serve their intentions. Folks, if we were on the level of gods, yeah, and do your scriptures not tell you, ye are gods? We were gods. We've forgotten who we are. And they are learning how to be that. And we are going to be in deep shit. Anyway, here. That is what I can see in that book. It's not that the writing is wrong. It's a doctrine of the church. What they tell you it means. It's not what the text says. Anyway, here, I leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.